So I have a quick question. Does it ever feel like you're in between worlds? And what do I mean by that? Almost as if you tap into the true self of your heart, that pure presence, and then it almost feels like something happens in your external environment, and then you're back to an external identification of self, which isn't aligned with the core truth of who we are, which is unconditional love. Has that been happening for you? Is my question. Full disclosure for myself personally, it has happened to me fairly often over the last year or two, where it almost feels like you're in between this intermediary realm, right? Where you recognize who you are as pure unconditional love and nothing matters, because the truth is the now is all that exists, and you have a core resonance and knowing of that. But then it's almost as if this waves of remembering, forgetting, remembering, forgetting, remembering, forgetting. It's been happening to me. A lot of people, in these spiritual circles seem to purely speak about once they've had this realization, once they've had this awakening, and maybe they are in a place where it's just 100% remembrance. I do think a lot of the sages have hit that level, but if I'm being completely honest, in my own experience, I think it's completely normal. I think it's part of the alchemy process. So if you're in a position where you really are feeling almost as if you're stepping in and out of consciousness, in and out of remembering, in and out of forgetting, I just want to tell you from my own experience, I feel like that's a normal part of the game. It's all one big dance. It's all one big dance. And as long as you remember that you're dancing, you're stepping in, you're stepping out, that's the key thing here. Because for you to even remember that you are forgetting shows you haven't actually forgotten. And I know that sounds a bit esoteric, but let that sink in. The true self who you are is actually watching the forgetting, which shows you never really left. And a big part of the alchemy process as a whole is actually putting light on the perceived forgetting, if that makes sense. I'll give you an example, right? External triggers. Let's say you're at work, let's say you're with a family member, a partner. They say something which triggers you. When that happens, you'll almost notice, it's almost as if someone's removed your batteries. And the reason for that being is ultimately it can create a perceived sense of energetic constriction within you. And when that happens, you don't feel like your true self, right? But all it really is basically a dense emotion which has come up for you as an opportunity and gift to alchemize. Okay? Basically an opportunity for you to transform this energy. Because there's no such thing as bad energy or good energy. That energy which has come up when you are triggered is ultimately a gift for you to transform that so that you can remain in that pure presence of truth, that pure presence of unconditional love, which transcends all earthly identities on a more consistent basis. And I know it's hard, it's difficult to sit with, it's very uncomfortable. And it can almost feel like you're in that beautiful space of remembrance and presence, then all of a sudden, you step back into that constriction. And then you step in, then you step out. But the more you really sit with that constriction, you watch it, you just sit with it, you send love towards it, and you allow your love essence to alchemize it. You can even do that as an exercise. Whenever you sit with that, you can even say within, I am love vibration and I'm just observing this. I send love towards this, I allow my love essence to alchemize it. And it can be a bit tricky because we have a multifocal awareness, right? Like, so basically you're observing the outside, you're observing your thoughts, and also you're observing pretty much the inside simultaneously. So it's quite easy to get lost in that. But just remind yourself, I am love vibration, I'm just observing that. That already clear out a lot of the color, and just try feeling your body where that constriction's coming up, send love towards it. Because that's the ultimate gift. And in my own experience, I talk about being in between worlds, right? I've defined that. So from my perspective, the true world, or the true home, is the remembrance, and most importantly, the embodiment of who we are as unconditional love. Now, what is unconditional love? Unconditional love means no conditions. And it's the essence of who we are. It's the purity of our energy, who we are at the heart of it, beyond all identities. But I focus on that unconditional aspect because, as I mentioned, those triggers, those external events, those are potential conditions which we may have subconsciously or consciously taken on in the past, which are coming up for us. And the more we alchemize it, the more we put our presence on it and we send love towards that, the more we can truly embody the truth of who we are as unconditional love. So ironically, alchemizing the very conditions that feel very uncomfortable, in my own experience, are the direct path to the truth of who we are and home, if you will, or the world we would prefer. So I guess, yeah, the more you go along this path, there's a chance you're going to feel more sensitive. The truth is, I think most of us are always shifting realities most times throughout the day, depending on what triggers we give regard to, depending on what subconscious programs come up, depending on what, there's a whole lot of things. So basically, it can feel a bit unnerving once you actually see how often you are shifting between that equilibrium, especially once you've truly stepped into the higher seat of love, that true identity of the heart, that beautiful heart energy which just transcends everything. So yeah, I guess this is just a message. If anyone's feeling in that place where you kind of feels like you're in between worlds, you know the truth, but then you know your energy drops, then it goes. I personally, my own experience, I think it's a normal part of the process, and I actually think it's a beautiful thing. It shows you actually making progress, in my own opinion, because you've actually done enough work to the point where you're willing to face what needs to be faced to actually step into the truth, which not a lot of people are willing to do. And this is what I'm saying, in the spiritual communities, no one's talking about this. No one's talking. Apparently, most people have this spontaneous awakening, and then it's 24/7 like that. As I say, I don't know many people who actually embody that, because there's talking about it and there's embodiment. I can tell you what I want on this camera, but what I do behind this camera is the true embodiment. And this is what I want to tell you. Just be very careful with who you're watching on YouTube, because at the end of the day, focus on yourself. You want to aim for that 100% embodiment, because that 100% embodiment of pure love, of pure presence, of pure peace, 24/7, that's pure unconditionality. So as these conditions come up for you, it shows you being brave enough to actually face the stuff head on. And in my own opinion, it's a massive sign of progress. And it actually is the way home. All it is now is just having that consistent courage to just face it, and consistent self-compassion to just view all of these things with the most beautiful love and compassion, to just alchemize them. Just transform them with your presence, sit with them, even though it can get hard. So I just want to let you know you're not alone. You're actually doing a lot better than you think if you're in this position. And yeah, I just thought I had to make a video on this. And one thing I do want to say, and I'll probably make another video on this, is the shift from that dense, constricted, energetic space where you get triggered. The shift from that to remembering the truth can actually be very quick. It can be very, very quick. So don't fear, don't falter. If you are in a constricted energetic space, it is part of the game. And that constricted energy, see it as a beautiful gift for you. Because I promise you, once you put your presence on that, once you sit with it, once you send love towards it, once you alchemize that, the energy you will embody and the energy available to you will supersede any feelings of discomfort and any pain which that experience gave you. So in other words, there is a cost to it, but the benefit, I promise you, is going to be so much more beautiful than anything you ever imagined. So you're a lot closer than you think. You're making a lot more progress than you think. And my advice is just keep doing your situational best no matter what. And yeah, as I say, at the end of the day, the fact you're even aware of the forgetting shows you alchemizing in itself. So that is just a message which was planted on my heart. I wanted to share with you guys. It can be completely normal, you know, even once you've woken up, you look at the 9 to 5, you look at the fake news, you look at just how people interact in friendships, relationships, how it's just this consistent projection of identity and ego, and you kind of look at it and you know, it's normal to feel like you're less relatable. It definitely is. But if you're feeling less relatable, it's often a sign you've expanded and you've grown. So just keep seeing the upside in all of this stuff, because I promise you, just remember, it's in the rain in which things grow. So even if there's a perception of darkness, no such thing as dark. At the end of the day, dark is just a shade of light. All you're just really going to do is just put your light on that darkness, and it's no longer darkness. So that's what I'm saying. Does darkness exist? Darkness can't really exist if you are the light. Now all you're doing is shedding your light on the perceived darkness, and then look at that. It's become the most beautiful love, the most beautiful light, because that's what you are. So just keep doing what you're doing. I send my best wishes to you, and yeah, as always, just remember, you can't beat someone who doesn't give up. Keep doing what you're doing.